over here. Good morning. I hope all of you arrived here well. Very warm welcome to those who arrived to our final conference today for the final day of our final conference. And it's high-level policy dialogue with the MEPs and the European stakeholders that we're having this morning. What is very important, if you don't speak German, there will be a moment where you need a headset. So if you don't have a headset yet and don't speak German, it's the moment to jump up and run to the front. Yeah, maybe that's good. And this morning we're gonna start with Kirsten Pasch and Peter Holl. So I'm handing over to you for this session. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. Welcome here also from my side. My name is Kirsten Pasch. Most of you have seen me yesterday already. I'm the coordinator of FOSTER. So what I would like today is to wrap up a bit, but also to introduce again a bit the FOSTER project and our ambitions, because our panelists could not make it to the day yesterday, and they also should feel involved. So we are talking about food system transformation, and that is in line with our food system. Yes, thank you, Anna. That's exactly the slide I was looking for. And we put it in a simple slogan. So if we change the way we produce and use knowledge, we can change the way we produce, eat, and waste food. I think that's something simple to understand. That is where we're thinking about is the knowledge flow that we have within our food system, is it good as it is at the moment? And we don't think it's not good. So yesterday we have dived into complexity of food system, and I don't want to dive into that deep today, but just to wrap up, also for our guests, that we look on 4 different dimensions within that food system. So one on a substantive dimension, what is food system thinking all about and how to look at it, and why do we need this knowledge about it and need more food system thinkers. Then we look to the dimension of our knowledge, how knowledge is created, how we differentiate different kinds of knowledge, academic knowledge and knowledge from the practice. And is it really, and it's not on an equal footing, the academic knowledge, the value of academic knowledge and practical knowledge. Then we look on the temporal dimension. That means that decision we're taking today should have taken into account a view into the future and take into account that there are different options of the future might happen. So that is something what we found quite important. And the last one, the governance dimension that regards sustainability, justice, and democratic participation as a guiding principle of innovation alongside economic objectives. So we listened, we learned, we exchanged a lot of views. Also, we learned something new from her. We got perspective from people which are not part of our FOSTER team. And this is the moment to briefly introduce you to our FOSTER team. Anna, please. Yes. Here you see an overview of all partners. So we are 18 partners from all over Europe. And I would like to highlight our what we call CDIs, the change-driven initiatives. So there's something that our special partners are very valuable partners. Because this change-driven initiative, there are those partners who have a special role. You can also call them maybe community of practice, so that sounds maybe more familiar to some of you. They're non-commercial initiatives, grassroots initiatives, and in their system, they're quite actively pushing transformation processes in their regional or national environment. So CDIs are the place where practice is put, or where practice happen and impact happen, and they're working with a broad variety of stakeholders, like, for example, school canteens of the Ernährungsrat Stuttgart, TCV with initiatives for participatory guarantee schemes. Then we have PLP Pannonian Food, local food. They're working in a rural network along short food supply chains. Then we have the combination of two, the Irsi Caixa Living Lab and the Fab Lab Barcelona. They're working with low socio-economic status communities in the city of Barcelona. And the Delta Foundation from Serbia, they're working with small-scale farmers and also in this kind of urban social networks. So this is our team. And alongside this university and research institution that you, by default expect in this kind of project, we work together with our CDIs and develop and apply knowledge outside academic institutions with these partners, and we call them everyday experts. That is something also where we would like to valuable the knowledge they have, and not that is knowledge not generated exclusively at higher education at university, but it arises everywhere. So in our system, with social initiatives, but also in communities, also in public administration, businesses, and so on. And this different kind of knowledge needs often translator, intermediaries, knowledge broker, what we call. So that is what we experience within in our project. We work together, and we found it particularly effective in this networking, and we followed specific approaches that if you make new connection and redrafting the system borders from a food perspective, that's quite valuable when we change the way in which knowledge flows and that we foster these unusual collaborations. And very important to reflect on that with a different perspective of people, that we understand each other, that really takes time, understand each other, also the perspective of others, and that we enhance a sense of agency among those groups and make them aware of their own strengths. So it's not just about just new network. What we realized, what very important, that there is a substantial change and how we see our food system and what is it for. So the question is very easy. Is our food system a means to an end to keep the industry running that is feeding us? Is that what we want? Or is it a system where knowledge and innovation based equally on a commercial benefit and public value? So we, of course, consider the latter. And that brings me to my last slide before we start with the discussion. Well, that's nearly last slide. There's a nice overview of all our local initiatives. And the next slide, I would like to introduce to you our recommendations. So first recommendation, to ensure alternative. So these are core principles that we think have to be taken into account. It's not just about building new networks. That are core principles for our food system to take into account. Ensure alternative practice and diverse knowledge are recognized value and can have influence. Disruptors can be vital for maintaining innovations and transitions momentum. Support an inclusive, reflexive, multi-actor knowledge and innovation approach for the whole food system. Further empower civil society and a broad range of intermediary actors and organizations in the entire food system as partners in innovation and transformation. And improve effective policy coherence, reduce fragmentation of instruments, and influences in different policy domains at all levels, from local to European level. So this is the moment to start discussion again. So we had brought a lot of them yesterday. And next slide, please. I introduce Peter Hall. We are both coming from the German Institute of Food Technologies in Germany. We are coordinator of the project. And now it's our pleasure to invite our guest. So Peter, start.
You put it already. It's really my pleasure to invite our guests here. And we will start in alphabetic order. And it will start with Mr. Martin Häusling. He's an MEP for the Group of the Greens in the European Parliament. He's also an organic farmer. And if I look on the long lists of committees he's involved, there are 3 which are of special interest for us, which is AGRI, naturally. It's ENVI, which stands for Environment, Climate and Food Safety, and also SANT, which is Public Health. So it's all covering the broad range of impact we see for our CDIs. Mr. Häusling, please come to the stage. You can take any seat you want because you are the first.
Or maybe applause for him would be very nice. So welcome him, thank you. So our next panelist will be Rosina. So we know each other already for long, also from our discussion yesterday. She's head of the Living Lab for Health at Irsi Kaiser in Barcelona. Her interest is to support and improve the health and well-being in neglected city areas in Barcelona. So you are a quite active CDI. That is something to mention. Thank you for being here.
We can follow the list from Bram. Bram Muskops has already been there with us together, yesterday, sorry. And just to repeat, he is here for IFOAM, which is a non-profit organization, and he's a senior manager on research, innovation, and education. And as I can read it, IFOAM is especially looking on biodiversity, climate change, food and nutrition security. So also welcome.
Thank you. Next is Rosalinda Scalia. You're the deputy head of the unit Bioeconomy and Food System at the European Commission Research Technology Development. So Rosalinda, she's strongly involved in scoping the research agenda. Yes, please. Responsible for drawing up strategies at European level and developing them further. And you go through collaboration and reflection processes with a wide range of European stakeholders. So welcome, Rosalinda. Yeah. Would you mind to go one further?
And finally, as the rows empty here in the first row, it's Richard Salzman. Please, Richard Salzman there's a stair and here you can jump. Is the CEO of EIT Food. EIT Food started as a knowledge and innovation community. So we are already in the middle of the subject. Yep. And to my knowledge, it has grown to the largest food ecosystem on this planet. Is this correct? We believe also so. Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
Yes.
I think we can take a seat as well, like you.
The idea is to organize this hour very simply. We have prepared some questions, we shared some questions, and we just go the row up and down. So if you may excuse, we will start with Richard Salzman. And the question is also all the same for all of you. And it is just, what is your special interest on the food sector of the European food area? It's a very long question for you, but maybe you pick out some special focus points which may of interest for us and also for the other panelists.
Yes, thank you, Peter, and thank you very much for having us. We believe, Europe's largest food innovation community, possibly the world's largest food innovation community. And in summary, I think the focus is changing. Our focus has been on finding innovation, finding solutions that could work. Now the focus really is taking those solutions and providing pathways for transformation at scale. So not just it could work, but it really will work, and this is how we get it to work at scale. And that's a very different innovation pathway, actually. So I think we in our community are learning a lot right now on how you move from solution innovation, technical or policy, to transformation at scale.
If I just may ask you, every strategy needs some tools. What are the tools at hand? Probably developed by EIT Food, didn't exist before. What are the tools, the transmission pathways EIT Food is strengthening for the next couple of years?
Yeah, so we're very much focused on resilient agriculture and the potential for biotech as well as the protein transition as kind of vectors for significant change, not exclusively. But if we take resilient agriculture, for example, that should have a very material effect on food system sustainability, on the relationship between health and diet, and on food system resilience, which are three outcomes we're really trying to focus on. But what's the difference? It's the different way we get organizations to collaborate. And I think that is really what is changing, in particular in the corporate sector. Companies that compete super hard in the market or on the shelf are now truly openly working together. And that is the difference in what we've been focusing on.
Thank you. If you may now look to Rosalinda. The same question.
The same question and a different focus maybe,
Yeah.
but I'm working, as it was said at the beginning, for the European Commission, for the Directorate General Research and Innovation, and our directorate is called the Healthy Planet Directorate. So in whatever we do, we make sure that the actions, the tools that we want to facilitate, we don't provide tools ourselves, but we create the environment for research and innovation to create those tools and solutions that should be that should provide solutions for the planet to keep being healthy. And this healthy planet concept is strictly linked with the health of citizens, with the health of the EU, and that's why we cooperate with the other directorate that deals with that. So our role is more to facilitate, to create these connections, and we have done it so far since 2016 with the research and innovation framework that is called Food 2030, providing these tools, these topics under the work program of Horizon Europe Cluster 6 in a way that this research and innovation, this knowledge that is produced is a knowledge that, that takes into account the systemic approach from the production to consumers. And our role has been the role of a neutral broker, let's say. We don't have only one end users. We don't only take care of certain end users. Our neutral approach is for science to thrive, for knowledge to be produced, and to create this ecosystem that at the end of the day provides solutions for our citizens. Also with a view now to biotech, to those biotech solutions that can really make a difference in the way we use resources. So trying to do everything at once, it's difficult, but it's proving to be effective to bring together communities like this, and we hope to be able to do it also in the future. Thank you.
Now, Bram.
Yeah, so as you already explained, I'm working for IFM Organics Europe. We represent the whole organic sector in Europe, the farmers, the processors, the retailers, the whole sector, everybody involved in the value chains. And I have here the recommendations of the Foster project in front of me. And the first one is ensure alternative practices. Organic agriculture for sure is such an alternative practice. It started with pioneers in the 60s and 70s with maybe just a few farmers that were very, well, in a way marginalized or looked at very weirdly. And now we have a sector that has more than 430, almost 440 farmers across Europe. And the organic sector represents 11% of EU farmland, with some countries even having much higher shares, 27% in Austria, 22% in Estonia. So it has become really a success, and I think the success is due to the fact that organic agriculture is at the same time oriented towards the market. It provides products, agriculture products, food for people, but it also delivers public benefits. It protects the environments and it protects public health by not using pesticides. And I think this dual focus really is at the core of the organic sector, and it is thanks to also EU policies and recognition of the value that organic farmers provide through different regulations and different policies, that an alternative practice such as organic agriculture has had the chance to grow. So I think this first recommendation I can really sympathize with.
Yeah. Sympathize. Herr Häusling.
Yes, if you need translation, I want to make my speech in German. Need the headset. Ja, also ich bin selber gelernter Landwirt. Also ich habe Landwirtschaft richtig klassisch gelernt, mit einer richtig klassischen Ausbildung. Und ich gehöre auch zu denen, die sich immer noch zu den Bio-Pionieren zählen. Wir haben unseren Betrieb 1988 umgestellt auf ökologische Landwirtschaft. Da war das noch kein Mainstream, da war das irgendwie sehr, sehr speziell. Und da habe ich sofort gemerkt, ja, man kann zwar einen Betrieb umstellen, aber man braucht dann auch Partner, die die ökologischen Waren verarbeiten, vermarkten und am Ende muss man auch den Kunden erreichen. Und das ist, glaube ich, für mich ganz wichtig, dass wir das System nicht nur von der Produktion her denken müssen, sondern wir müssen das Landwirtschaftssystem quasi von Anfang bis zum Ende denken. Und das fehlt mir halt oft. Und ich erlebe das immer wieder, wenn ich in Landwirtschaftsschulen gehe, die sind alle wunderbar in der Produktion. Die können von der Kuh 12.000 Liter Milch rauspressen und 100 Doppelzentner Getreide ernten und anschließend wird es abgeliefert. Und sie wissen noch nicht mal, was sie für Geld dafür bekommen. Und ich glaube, im ökologischen Landbau haben wir sehr schnell gelernt und mussten das auch lernen. Wir müssen uns selber um die Vermarktung kümmern. Wir müssen auch die Akteure finden im ländlichen Bereich, die mit uns zusammenarbeiten. Und das ist im Moment für mich auch politisch die größte Herausforderung. Wir haben ja nicht nur immer weniger landwirtschaftliche Betriebe, die zunehmend größer werden, sondern wir verlieren auch ganz viel Handwerk im ländlichen Bereich. Also wo sind die Bäcker, die Biogetreide vermahlen? Wo sind die Metzger, die noch handwerklich schlachten und es vermarkten können? Die verschwinden zunehmend. Und wir haben zunehmend das Problem, dass wir alle Landwirte und auch die kleinen Verarbeiter den großen Lebensmittelketten ausgeliefert sind. Und die bestimmen die Preise, die bestimmen auch das, wie produziert wird. Und das halte ich für eine große Gefahr. Mein anderes Thema ist natürlich, wenn ich ökologische Landwirtschaft betreibe, wir müssen das System klimafreundlicher machen, wir müssen das System unabhängiger machen von fossiler Energie. Und das geht eigentlich nur langfristig, wenn wir mehr auf ökologische Wirtschaftsweise umstellen. Das ist mein Antrieb. Und wenn ich das noch sagen darf, ich sehe mit großer Sorge, wie sich die Agrarpolitik in Europa im Moment entwickelt. Es steht ja alles unter dem Logo Bürokratieabbau. Und ich sehe, dass bei Bürokratieabbau in erster Linie mal die Umweltregeln fallen. Und dass im nächsten Haushalt es wieder so geht, dass Pauschalen gezahlt werden für Fläche, aber wenig investiert wird in die ländlichen Räume. Ich selber komme aus einem LEADER-Projekt. Ich weiß nicht, ob wird kaum einer kennen. Ich komme aus Nordhessen, Nationalpark Kellerwald, wird wahrscheinlich keiner kennen, ist der geheimste Nationalpark in Deutschland. Und da über LEADER-Projekte haben wir ganz viele Akteure im ländlichen Bereich gewonnen und deshalb kämpfe ich auch ganz stark dafür, dass das LEADER-Projekt erhalten bleiben und auch finanziell gut ausgestattet werden.
Oh.
Well, hello, I'm Rosina Malagrida. Some of you already met me yesterday. I am the responsible of the Living Lab for Health at IRSI Caixa, which is an institute of research located in a hospital in Barcelona. And we are focused on food environment transformation, so where the demand is, and especially in vulnerable areas, because these are the places where some of the prominent problems that derive from the food system are more prevalent, like, for example, obesity, overweight, food security, social cohesion, and of course, then there are the environmental impacts as well. So what we are doing, we have been in Foster, but also with other European projects like FoodClick and Clever Food, experimenting with living labs. We have created a regional living lab and 2 local living labs in 2 vulnerable neighborhoods in our region. And we have been able to experiment with different methodologies and develop guidelines. In Clever Food, we have participated in the development of the toolkit for public engagement. And we have there several guidelines on how these living labs should act when we are to address complex problems. And in our case, with this food environment transformation, we have been working with 5 steps. We have involved more than 100 organizations. The first step has been to understand the food system, the different elements with systems thinking, and to have a shared framing of the problem. The second step was to design a shared vision of the future, which is critical to have all these stakeholders aligned, and then to co-design a strategy of the transition in our area of our food environments. Once we had this transition design made, we moved to the next phase where we co-design solutions. Some of these solutions can be implemented straightforward, other ones require research. So we are doing pilots with collaborative experimentation for the ones that require research. And for those that require research, but also for the other ones, now we are moving to the next experiment. We call them collaborative experiments, where we are identifying the principles that are behind these innovative approaches to food environment transformation, because we want to see how these principles are embedded in the existing system. And that means creating new social innovation initiatives, but also transforming the existing system, existing supermarkets, existing shops, existing restaurants, and so on. And this is the experiment that we are about to start after the summer. And we are also experimenting with these different stakeholders to co-design policy recommendations. We are about to start writing a policy brief now, because we have finished a set of workshops at the different levels, not only local and regional, but also national and international, because we believe that this governance process needs to be multi-level. And now we are going to publish a policy brief with ICLEI, FoodClick, Foster, and the different projects, and then start this cycle again and again and again, because this requires an iterative and long-term transition management process.
Thank you. I have a mic, thank you. No, it was nice to listen to you, and I'm especially impressed, Martin Häusling, about what you said, that when you started in '88 already, and actually you centralized the problem we have. So not thinking from just agriculture production along the chain, just the value chain where the money flows, but thinking from a food system approach. So taking the entire system into account, otherwise the change will not happen. And it's nearly 30 years now ago since you started, and we haven't solved the problem yet. So happy that you are pushing this also on a European level. And that's also the idea and intention of all of us, to push that further. It's not only about organic farming, I think. It's much more like from all the different networks we need in this food system that need more power to help us support in this transformation process. So let us come now to the second round. And some of you started already with that, with this nice slides in front of you. We would like to go a bit more in the recommendation we worked out, and sure, there's still more on a high level, but this is something where we hopefully also after Foster can continue with. People feel responsible to take this message further. That's also our ambition today, to spark your curiosity and your interest in that recommendations. So maybe we go the other way around and start with Rosina first. And maybe you could pick the one recommendation you found most interesting, that you don't have to cover everything. So maybe you can highlight a few things, what you think is important. Maybe also it's already connected to your work. Would you bring it further?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think now we know how to address problems when they are complex. We have had already several European projects and also other funding schemes making it possible. And we have guidelines, we have toolkits, and we have stakeholders that have the sense of urgency and have the capabilities to address these problems differently. Therefore, we are now at the moment to achieve a structural change. The ideal thing would be to achieve this structural change by talking to the big corporations or organizations, like, for example, the national and regional partnership plans, the European Economic and Social Council, the research and innovation strategies all around Europe, RIS3, and so on and so forth. But we know that this would be difficult now to achieve this very ambitious change. The change, just to imagine it, could be the same as when we invented, for example, the healthcare system or the education system, where we have in the healthcare, for example, primary, secondary hospitals, and in every single neighborhood there is a primary care. With the knowledge and innovation system, we have universities, but we are missing the other structures. Europe has been a pioneer inventing the universities, a pioneer in all the world. And I think Europe can be a pioneer in completing this system, which is now incomplete. And my recommendation in order to proceed with this is that there should be a call in order to pilot this structural change in some regions in Europe, where we create these very local living labs, but also regional living labs, and those connected to the national and international levels, in order to have a shared governance, but more structured than we had so far with the current projects. With the current projects, we are seeing niche initiatives, but we are missing this shared governance structure with a multi-level network of living labs and with a shared strategy. And this shared strategy should be organized around sub-transitions. So here at the table, we have heard about different sub-transitions, and for each of them, we have the methodologies in order to be able to have this shared problem framing, these shared strategies, this shared co-design, these shared experimentations, and these shared policy innovations. And we need this call to have a to be co-funded. It's very important that we already value this co-funding in order to have those that will make it possible to make the structural change at the regional, local, and also national levels. There should also be cascade funding to make sure that we arrive to those that will not be engaged from the very beginning. And there should be room for research on the governance still, because we have all these toolkits, but we are still not aligned on how to, so we still need some more research on these governance frameworks, on these food democracy processes, on social innovation, on how to change these funding models with public and private partnerships, on how to innovate in business models, and how to measure the impact of these initiatives.
Thank you very much. That was already an impressive speech, yeah. But then we talked yesterday about this bridging the gap we have between that, in principle, we know what to do and how to do things and really to implement things. And it's nice that you suggested as a bridge to build really living labs that are not just have the label living lab, we talked about that yesterday, but also really fulfill the structural gap we have in Europe. So thank you for that. Mr. Häusling, could you pass me, yeah.
Ja, ich kann da anknüpfen. Sorry. Wait a second, okay. Ich kann da anknüpfen. Ich glaube, wir müssen wirklich die verschiedenen Ebenen überall zusammenbringen. Und ich glaube, das ist eine Aufgabe, die Politik bisher vernachlässigt hat. Also wir fördern die Landwirtschaft, wir fördern Innovationen in anderen Bereichen, aber wir bringen es nicht zusammen. Und nur ein Beispiel zu geben, die Landwirte sind ja nicht deshalb auf die Straße gegangen, weil sie billigen Diesel haben wollten, sondern es ist eine große Unzufriedenheit, weil die Bauern den Eindruck haben, sie kriegen das in der Kette an Geld, was übrig bleibt. Also erstmal decken alle ihre Kosten und wenn was übrig bleibt, kommt dann bei den Landwirten an. Da muss man deutlich zu machen, die Landwirte bekommen noch 20% von dem, was sie im Laden ausgeben für Nahrungsmittel. 20% davon kommt noch bei den Bauern an. Und ich glaube, wir müssen da, wenn wir es ernst meinen, wieder Lebensmittel in Wert setzen. Wenn Landwirte mehr machen für Umwelt, wenn Landwirte mehr machen für die Biodiversität, wenn sie ihre Kühe auf der Weide halten, dann muss das auch honoriert werden. Und da müssen wir wegkommen von pauschalen Preisen. Jetzt bekommt bei uns in Deutschland der konventionelle Landwirt 45 Cent für einen Liter Milch. Das reicht vorne und hinten nicht. Und dann wird wieder geschrieben, wir brauchen Unterstützung von der Europäischen Union. Wir müssen Lebensmittel in Wert setzen. Und der Verbraucher muss wissen, was wie das produziert wurde. Ist das umweltfreundlich produziert oder ist es Massenware? Am besten sage ich das immer bei Hähnchen. Wir haben in Deutschland viele Hähnchenställe, da sind so 30.000 Hähnchen in einem Stall. Letzte Woche hatten die alle ein Problem bei 40 Grad Außentemperaturen. Ja, aber das wissen die wenigsten. Warum ist das Hähnchenfleisch so billig? Ja, weil es eine Massenware ist. Und in jedes Hähnchen kommt in ihrem kurzen Leben von 3 Wochen einmal, werden sie mit Antibiotika behandelt. Das ist nicht nachhaltig. Und das Biohähnchen kostet 4-mal so viel. Und ich muss erklären, warum kostet das 4-mal so viel? Da kann ich 2 Möglichkeiten machen. Ich kann das eine erklären, aber ich bin eher der Meinung, dass wir die Folgekosten der industriellen Produktion sozusagen auch denen anhängen, die das produzieren. Wer Antibiotika einsetzt, ist schwierig. Da bin ich, deshalb bin ich im Gesundheitsausschuss. Das Thema Antibiotikaresistenz ist ein wahnsinnig wichtiges Thema. Und in Europa wird immer noch viel mehr Antibiotika in der Mast von Tieren eingesetzt als im Humanbereich. Finde ich einen Riesenskandal, müssen wir dringend was gegen tun. Und ich denke, dieses den Wert setzen von einer nachhaltigen Produktion, das muss bis in die Supermärkte gehen. Und ich habe immer das Gefühl, ich rede ja auch viel mit denen, die da verkaufen, die haben keine Ahnung von Produktion. Die sehen nur, aha, das Hähnchen kostet so viel, das andere Hähnchen kostet so viel. Klar, der Verbraucher will billig. Und gerade in Deutschland haben wir ja das in den letzten Jahren ja, ich weiß nicht, ich kann das gut sagen, Geiz ist geil war in Deutschland so ein Motto. Also es muss immer billig genug sein, damit, gerade bei Lebensmitteln, führt das halt zu Problemen, die alle Produzenten und am Ende auch die ganze Kette wirklich betreffen. Und ich denke, was auch noch wichtig ist und was auch im Schwerpunkt meiner Arbeit ist, wir haben Bioware. Wir würden uns gerne wünschen, dass der Verbrauch von Bio steigt. Wir müssen an Schulen, an Kindergärten, an Universitäten, in den Kantinen, da müssen wir Bio unterbringen. Da müssen wir nachhaltige Lebensmittel unterbringen. Und es tut mir immer an der Seele weh, wenn ich sage, ja, wir haben in Krankenhäusern zum Beispiel, jedenfalls ist es in Deutschland so, ich hoffe, das billigste Essen. Wir wollen Leute gesund machen, haben aber in den Krankenhäusern das billigste Essen. Und ich glaube, da müssen wir die Ketten miteinander verknüpfen. Und es kann nicht sein, dass wir auf der einen Seite nachhaltig produzieren wollen und müssen und beim nächsten zählt wieder nur das Geld. Ich glaube, Ernährung muss auch in Wert gesetzt werden und das ist oftmals vernachlässigt worden. Und wenn ich das noch sagen darf, die letzte Kommission, dieselbe Präsidentin, da hatten wir die Farm-to-Fork-Strategie. Und ich habe mich gefreut, dass wir da andere Ansätze haben. Da war zum Beispiel das Ziel 25% ökologische Landwirtschaft. Alles verschwunden, muss ich sagen. Man darf das Wort Green Deal und Farm to Fork gar nicht mehr in den Mund nehmen, ist politisch nicht mehr gewünscht. Und das halte ich für einen Riesenfehler, dass wir in eine Richtung gegangen sind und das Ganze jetzt wieder zurückdrehen in eher eine industrielle Produktion.
Thank you very much for these clear words. And I also fully agree that we have to value food much more. But especially that means also we have to value our entire food system. So that is something we have to take into account. And it was interesting, as you mentioned, in this regard, what we call from a scientific perspective, this true cost accounting. So what is a value of all the things that's happening around production and are not put as a price in the supermarket. So there is, it's going on a scientific level, but it's not a clear answer yet. So maybe, I don't know, I think perfect bridge to Bram. Could you please let us know what you recommend?
A lot of things that I could have brought in as well, but I'll try to add something. I wanted to talk about policy coherence. I already mentioned in my previous intervention that organic delivers both for the market and for the public good, and that also means that there are potentially many policy areas that are affected by organic agriculture or that could affect organic agriculture. Water protection, climate change, mitigation, climate change adaptation, public health again, research, innovation, education, consumer awareness, Rural development, you mentioned the LEADER project. I think also there organic agriculture has a big role to play. And the risk is that all these policies have something about organic agriculture, which would be very good if we achieve already that, but that there would be a real fragmentation, that just every policy area, every department would just do their own thing. And it's important that this is coordinated, that there is an agency that brings all the policies together, that keeps an eye on what is happening, and that also makes plans, organic action plans. And these organic action plans, they should set targets, they should allocate funding to make sure that the plans can probably be implemented. And we currently have a very good EU organic action plan, and that also inspired organic action plan at national and regional level, and they were very helpful in providing recommendations and inspiration for national CAP strategic plans. And such an organic action plan should also be continued when we go to the next CAP phase with national and regional partnership plans. And so, I think such an organic action plan can be really an instrument to foster policy coherence, and similar action plans could also be thought of in other areas of the food system.
Thank you, Ram. So we heard about policy coherence, and now we have Rosa Linder, and you're the right person maybe to follow up with that. Yeah.
Indeed, thank you for this asset. I was going to start to saying that the one among all those recommendations of yours, the one on the multi-actor knowledge and innovation, the one of this inclusiveness, let's say, was resonating more with me. But inevitably, when you listen to other points of view in the same panel, you adapt your intervention. And indeed, this issue of policy coherence, it's very relevant, especially in the times that we are living now here in Brussels, from the European Commission perspective within the all institutions. So I'm very glad that there is this kind of awareness from the European Parliament as well, that we should continue with the systemic approach and not only looking at separate parts of the food value chain. We advocate the systemic approach with the inclusion of all the actors, and I'm very much impressed by what Rosina has been doing in Barcelona. You mentioned other projects that are also funded under Food 2030, like Food Click, like Clever Food as a network approach. So this is a moment also when it's a final moment for your project, but it's also a moment of proud and of recognition for what research innovation, for what the EU research innovation has been doing so far. And why it's important now to recognize this? Because last year the Commission presented the proposals for the next multi-annual financial framework, and because now it's been already 1 year that the co-legislator has started the way for truly negotiating the final versions of these regulations. So it's now that we need to harvest what we have done and to give the right inputs to the co-legislators in terms of reflecting what should be featuring there for the next 7 years ahead of us. And the policy coherence is particularly complicated when it comes to food, because there are several actors also on the policy side. There is the point of view of the Director General for DG Agriculture, as you know, very well active in these times with Commissioner Hansen. And there is the point of view of DG Grow, the industrial perspective. And as I said at the beginning, we as Research and Innovation, we want to be the neutral broker there, taking on board also colleagues from DG Santé that take care of our safety, of the food that we put on our plate, and making the links of food, of the nutrition and health. So with all this in mind, the policy coherence, it's a big effort at this moment in time, but it's something that we are really looking into it, and in order for our dear food systems to be well represented in the legal text of the future. For the moment, the Commission proposal has these policy windows that have been included in the European Competitiveness Fund, and one policy window, as it stands now in the proposal, puts together agriculture, bioeconomy, biotech, and health. It's not by chance that this happened. So with this in mind, this systemic approach has even more importance. And just to follow up on the fact that the farm to fork is not mentioned anymore, I want to make the point that our colleagues, that we as Commission published the European Vision for Agriculture and Food, and with this vision, with this policy document, we want to look toward the future of agriculture. At the same time, we published also the life science strategy that aims to make the EU the best place where to perform life sciences by 2030. And there you can see that there was an action on how to have a new R&I strategic approach to food system solutions for citizens. So we already started paving the way for coherent documents. We want to continue with a coherent approach for research and innovation, and we look toward the next multi-annual financial framework to have the tools for continue performing this kind of research. Currently, under Horizon Europe Cluster 6, we have dedicated 9.5 billion only to Cluster 6. Roughly 11% of this budget has been dedicated more to food production, food processing, let's say, to the food system perspective. So we need to reflect on what to do in the future. And in these reflections, we cannot forget industry and the link between agriculture and industry, because 70% of the agricultural products goes to industry. And the EU industry is, in terms of products, in terms of job production, it's at the same level as the automotive industry. And this resonates very well with our German colleagues. So sometimes we forget about that. And when we speak about EU competitiveness, we should think that we are there, our food systems are there as a tool to make the EU more competitive in the world. So I'm sorry if I went a bit all over the places, but it's important not to forget all the different elements, and that acknowledging that policy coherence, it's something that requires a lot of attention, a lot of efforts, but also that will harvest from what you have been doing with Foster and with other projects. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalinda. And you mentioned at the end this efforts you need for that, also time. Maybe one extra question for you. As yesterday you told me you're in a daily contact with DG Agri. What's great to hear. So maybe looking back and into the future, I mean, you're now working among the different DGs very closely because you have to jointly develop strategies, which is very good. How was it if you look back maybe to the last large strategies to develop? Do you see a difference there in working together with the different DGs? And maybe what is in future? I mean, it's a difference between working out together a strategy and implementing together a strategy. How do you see that?
For the past, I see, for example, the success of the Food 2030 approach that was pioneering this systemic approach. This needs to be systemic when tackling issues that are related to food production. So I see that success, and in the past, that was seen as something new. So it was not that we didn't want to work together. We were already working together, but the approaches were a bit different. So we were able to promote this systemic approach, and now we are much more advanced than in the past. And I see this reflected also in the recent documents of the Commission and in the way forward, because there is more and more intention to work beyond services, to go across silos, and to work more with task force. I don't know if you have seen, but for several crucial needs that need special attention, immediate attention, the Commission has set up task force for scale up and start up, for example, or for housing. You will hear more about that in the next upcoming speech of the President that is foreseen for September, the State of the Union speech. So there you can also start seeing the way for the future and the way that we are implementing already today with all the other colleagues of the Commission to have coherent approaches, especially for food systems.
Thank you very much. And now, Richard, please let us know how you see our recommendations, maybe from a...
Yeah, I might take a slightly different tack. It's this balance between policy coherence and being overly tight. So when we think about alternative practice and diverse knowledge, the food system, as Martin said, it's fundamentally an organic system right from the roots up. And organic systems are very difficult to control tightly and have that kind of classic linear policy coherence that we might look for in other sectors. It is critical that we create an enabling space for alternative practices all the way through the food system, because it's such a diverse environment, physically, geographically, socially, that there is no possibility of a healthy, nutritious food system for the whole of Europe based on single practices or linear approaches. So this concept of policy coherence is going to be really interesting. What do we mean by that? Do we mean tight policy alignment, or do we actually mean that we are coherently open in our policy to create that enabling environment for alternative practices? And I think that's going to be a difficult mindset to get around, that maybe the coherence is actually the openness of the policy frameworks. If we look at, again, the policy coherence, and Martin's given me lots of inspiration, the thing you said was food, high quality food costs more, and no one disputes that. But if we look at food and agriculture policy as a closed system, we might not fix that problem. Policy coherence might need to take into account housing policy and social policy and industrial policy to say, okay, well, I come from the UK, you might have picked up a bit of an accent, so I'm a Brexit refugee. One of the reasons people are very squeezed on their food budget is the fundamental cost of housing has gone up in totally disproportionately to the cost of food over the last 20 years. So the proportion of income spent on housing has gone through the roof, leaving people with very little budget for food. Question, how can we align housing policy and tax policy on rents, for example, profiteering in the private market or mortgage sector, so that there is more money available for people, especially those in lower income brackets, to spend on food? So this policy coherence is absolutely critical, but there's two elements. It's policy coherence around openness to enable that diverse set of solutions, community action, innovation from the startup and scale-up space to come through, but also policy coherence at the macro level to tackle some of the fundamental issues, which is how can we ensure that Europe chooses high-quality, healthy food as opposed to is forced to choose a cheaper option?
That makes it even more complicated.
I didn't mean to do that, but possibly yes.
Thank you. Hand over to Peter. Yeah.
I listened carefully. You've already expanded the food system to the super EU living system for citizens. Yeah. Coming back a bit to our CDIs, change-driven initiative, these are citizens, and these are initiatives ground-rooted with a strategy and an execution plan. So they are, let's say, quite on the top of the field. And you see the impact of the citizens also reflected by our recommendations, the inclusiveness, the reclusiveness, the alternative practices. The next question is pretty concrete. How do you see the role of these citizens from now on, the opportunity and the impact? And you already said we need enabling spaces. For all this, we need some kind of frame, and someone has to provide the frames, or at least to discuss about the frame. And I think that's the beauty of this round here. We can discuss that. We probably do not ask for proper final solutions, but trajectories of coherence discussions. So maybe you start with that. I know that EIT Food at the beginning had some civil societal KPIs that has been come a little bit in the background because of the transformation of EIT Food and the policy requirements towards the KICS at all. Yeah. But we started with that. And
yeah, we did. And so we, as you know, Peter, we've looked a huge amount at that concept of engaging with people. I'm going to avoid the word consumer because it's awful, and I'll try and avoid the word citizen because it sounds very bureaucratic. How do you actually get people engaged? And a couple of things. One is, it's actually, there are small numbers of very engaged people who can do remarkable things, but probably we need to recognize that the vast majority of people are very difficult to actively engage into action. So probably learning one is you can take the inspiration from that small group of people who will engage, whether that's in the farming space with the pioneer farmers who are committing to regenerative agriculture, for example, or whether it's in just the community space of people who put their time into something like a CDI project and their energy, and they really work at it for no personal gain. Scaling that needs a different paradigm. You can't assume you're going to scale the engagement and have that richness of engagement. The second thing, and we learned, is sadly, most people are not motivated by the things we want them to be motivated by. So when we look at, for example, is sustainability a primary driver of people's choices in food? That index has been dropping off over the last 5 years through our surveys. And so you have to recognize, okay, if it's not going to be a primary driver of a person's choice, how do you make it a primary driver of simply what is on the shelf? Though that choice is no longer one that the person knows they're making. You know, fluoride in toothpaste, for example. Nobody chooses between a fluoride toothpaste and a non-fluoride toothpaste anymore because effectively there was an element that said this is the right thing to do societally. So I think I love what we can do with people who are really engaged and will put the effort in. We need to recognize that to scale, you've got to move past that, and there's different vectors, different channels than assuming you will scale that engagement.
If I may insist, you said there's a problem with motivation, here not.
Absolutely, but yeah? This is...
So, there's really an infrastructure, not an infrastructure, but a seedbed of motivated CDIs. They're there. Yeah. And as you said, they are started by themselves and they're climbing up. Look on this example. They are already at the European level. They can express themselves, which is not the case for all of them. Yeah. What would be an enabling space to give them the room to flourish and also to have this, you mentioned sustainability is not a buzzword which is affecting a lot of people, but here it's a way around. We looked for the CDIs, what their motivation is, and we then take it over. This is, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, to encourage people to commit to something like a CDI recognition, yeah, and a space for their learning to be showcased and recognized is really important. So this is one of those showcases, but when we look at all of the events in Brussels, all of the channels, there's probably many more platforms we can bring these through on. And as EIT Food, for example, our Next Bite, that's our premium event. How can we bring through the voice of the people who've put their time and effort into this in a forum like that? Hopefully that would give people that reward, the feedback loop of saying, yes, this was a very valuable use of our time, and encourage others to get involved. So let's look at what platforms are available for the engaged minority to showcase their voice. But I'm not going to duck away from, we also need to work out how do we get the learnings and the asks of that engaged minority to scale without assuming that you're going to get an engaged majority.
Could I take out of your words that you see EIT Food as an enabling platform for that in parts?
In parts, yes, definitely. I mean, we are an orchestrator and a convener, so where that enabling means we can bring together the policy makers in Brussels with some of the large companies who have to be involved in this. For all of the problems in the food sector that are related to over-industrialization, we're not going to overnight get rid of those large food companies. So yes, we can bring them in, and we do as EIT Food, and create that platform for some of these voices to come through. Yeah, we would love to be more involved in that.
Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Rosalinda, you already mentioned there should be actions on food system results incorporated. You already, this also, in fact, that has been the last question. What kind of instruments you would like to see to improved for the involvement of citizen actions? Could you comment on what Richard said? He already identified himself as one of the platforms driving this kind of inclusiveness, reflectiveness, alternative practices to be incorporated in a structural way. Scaling up is another word. Scaling up needs, we learn from good examples, from pilots, but then we would like to see it broader. Any kind of comment from your side on that?
So in terms of bridging between your question and the future, the tools that we see in the future with this new governance approach, and these communities of practice have a strong role to play in this new governance approach. We really acknowledge what they have done so far. So this putting together citizen researchers and public authorities for us has been super important. It has been the guiding principle and for promoting research projects under the governance pathway of Food 2030. But seeing what you have really done in the field is really inspiring, and perhaps should be done in a more permanent way. Maybe we should find a way for those activities, for those communities to be permanent, to find a funding that is more sustainable and to reflect on this. For us, the key elements of the communities, of what the communities are doing, is to enhance public trust for local authorities, trust for new solutions, and this you can do only if you provide the knowledge, if you explain, if you don't stay in boxes saying what is good and what is bad, but if you go beyond this silos approach, this also mental silos approaches, and this is an element that it's important that I wanted to flag, but also in view of taking all the people together and taking account of the vulnerabilities that need to be taken into account. So for vulnerable people, you mentioned hospitals, we mentioned schools or children that do not have access to a proper diet. This is something that we have already been doing. You will see in the last work program of Horizon Europe Cluster 6 that is going to be published end of September, beginning of October. You will see there also new elements, and we have foreseen our info days to really advertise new options for taking care of nutrition needs of vulnerable people. That is something that it's under our radar, and that I hope to be able to develop with our team and with all the other teams in the Commission in the future. So I'm just impressed of what your communities have done, and I really need to flag to every time that I have the possibility to do so, how this should continue and how this is important for our governance perspective.
If I just may add, I assure you this audience is listening carefully, and I hear the word new opportunities for funding. You said it. We do not know it, but we keep it in mind. Yeah? And for all kinds of instruments, that's a learning of life. There's some knowledge what could work, and there's also some knowledge what could not probably work. So if you need a resonance, if we are talking about new instruments, there might be some practitioners embedded in the local and regional environment which would give an answer or a reflection. What could if it end up with them, what could work and what is not so good, right? So opening the space for, this is the final conference, but we keep together. Also, we learned yesterday, there are some CDIs which already linked together without Forster, so beyond Forster. You could come back to us if you want. Yeah. Bram, same question, different angle.
Yes. I've set up and also started the coordination of a project that was very similar to the Foster project. I think it's called InnoFood Labs. And in this project, we're working with a range of, we call them living labs, but I think in the end it's very similar to the CDIs. And in these living labs, farmers, retailers, restaurants, and also consumers, citizens come together to set up local organic value chains, making sure that farmers get a fair price for the food they produce, and also citizens have access to healthy organic food at reasonable prices. And I think such initiatives are really great, and they really help also to connect citizens to the food system, understand make them understand how food is produced and how the food system works. And if there are new funding opportunities, I would definitely encourage the Commission to fund more of these kind of projects. But I also understand really that the criticism that Peter raised, and I also see this in the project itself. It takes a lot of effort to set up this kind of project, and it requires a lot of efforts from the farmers, from also us as researchers, to prepare these projects and to engage with stakeholders and with consumers. And it's in the end, we have to recognize this. Maybe Rosalie has a different view on this and has been successful in Barcelona, but it's hard to reach people that are in more vulnerable situations or that just don't have the time to dedicate to this. In the end, it's a limited group of interested, committed of citizens that really can dedicate time for it. It's a bit similar to just a group that has the resources to buy organic food. Maybe you said that we have to think about another housing system so that people can spend more money on food and less on housing, and maybe it's the same with getting engaged in the food system. We have to make another think about about work and what is beneficial for society and how we spend our time. But that's probably another discussion. The point that I want to make is that we cannot only rely on these great projects such as CDIs and living labs, but we also need change at the system, in the economy. Now I lost my point. That we that we need change at the whole economy, and sorry.
Okay. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Herr Häusling, Sie hatten schon begonnen damit, dass Sie sich beklagt haben. Also man könnte es auch als kurze Lieferkette bezeichnen, short value chain. Yeah? But we learned here, this is what we did in the Forster is far beyond short value chain. And there's one CDI, one citizen-driven initiative here in Sopron, Hungary, which is maybe close to your setting. And they already said, yeah, we need the retailers, we need the local markets, we need innovation and distribution, we need the local municipality, the governance, the local governance be involved to drive everything and for all, for the public good, for the better. How do you see the role of these initiatives?
Ich muss ja gestehen, ich habe heute Morgen den Umweltausschuss geschwänzt, weil ich diese Veranstaltung interessanter fand. Ich sage es, weil ich genau solche Projekte, die hier zusammenkommen von Universitäten oder Ernährungsräten, das ist das, was wir in Zukunft brauchen. Wir reden im Agrarausschuss immer nur darüber, wie können wir den Bauern was Gutes tun. Wir reden im Gesundheitsausschuss darüber, wie können wir das Gesundheitssystem besser machen, und im Umweltausschuss, ja, wie können wir das für die Umwelt, besser machen. Aber eigentlich gehören alle drei Sachen zusammen. Und ich glaube, dass wir gucken müssen, dass wir viele Sachen fangen mit Bildung an. Also ich finde, gerade Kindergärten und Schulen müssten Bildungsarbeit betreiben in Sachen gute Ernährung. Es fehlt mir halt oft. Ja. Ich weiß, die sind sowieso überlastet und müssen ganz viele Sachen machen, aber da fängt es ja im Grunde genommen an. Und da kommen die ersten Akteure ins Spiel, nämlich die Kommunen. Die Kommunen können ganz viel tun, um da gute Ernährung, ökologische Ernährung in den Vordergrund zu stellen. Ich mache selber noch Kommunalpolitik, ich weiß, wie schwierig es ist, das durchzusetzen, aber da könnte man die Landwirte, die Verarbeiter und die Konsumenten letztendlich zusammenbringen. Und ich finde, Ernährungsräte, Stuttgart ist ja da, spielen da eine ganz wichtige Rolle. Ich kenne den Ernährungsrat in Frankfurt, Berlin hat einen großen Ernährungsrat und alle orientieren sich so ein bisschen an Kopenhagen. Ja, die haben ja das Ziel ausgegeben und die schaffen das auch. Das heißt, wo politischer Wille ist, wo im Grunde genommen die Akteure zusammenkommen, da kann das auch funktionieren. Klar, das Argument, die Leute müssen für viele andere Sachen viel Geld ausgeben. Im Moment ist es teurer geworden, Wohnungen, Mieten sind teurer geworden, aber trotzdem finde ich, es gibt ein wirklich enormes Interesse an einer guten Landwirtschaft, einer guten Umweltpolitik. Und das macht sich an einem Punkt immer deutlich. Wir haben 2 der erfolgreichsten Bürgerinitiativen, was wir auf europäischer Ebene machen können. Das eine Initiative ist durchgekommen, Right to Water. Die Leute wissen, welche Bedeutung Wasser hat und da hängt auch ganz viel Landwirtschaftspolitik mit dran. Und das zweite war End of Cage Age. Die Leute wollen, dass Tierhaltung nicht industriell abgeht. Und das müsste sich dann meiner Meinung nach die Kommission und andere zu Herzen nehmen und sagen, ja, es gibt einen großen Willen, das zu tun und da muss man auch auf die Akteure hören. Ich weiß, dass es zwar immer, man sagt, ja, machen wir schon irgendwann, also End of Cage, sagt jetzt der Kommissar, werde ich im Herbst das vorlegen. Ich hoffe, ob es kommt, ist eine zweite Frage, aber es gibt ein enormes Bewusstsein bei der Bevölkerung. Klar steht jeder jeden Tag vor der Entscheidung, was kaufe ich und wie teuer darf es sein. Das ist gar keine Frage. Aber ich glaube, dass wir da, wenn wir die Akteure zusammenbringen und das gegenseitige Verständnis wächst, dass jeder in der Kette eine Rolle hat, die wichtig ist. Ja? Am Ende auch die Supermärkte, ganz klar. Ich glaube, dann bekommt das System einen anderen Drive. Und wir reden gerade im Gesundheitsausschuss über ernährungsbedingte Krankheiten. Das ist so ein enormer Faktor. Ja? Und ich finde, das Bewusstsein muss dann stärker in den Vordergrund rücken, dass wir, wenn wir das System der Landwirtschaft und der Ernährung nicht hinbekommen, ordentlich zu gestalten in Zukunft, dann haben wir viele andere Kosten. Und deshalb ist es so wichtig, dass wir uns alle darüber Gedanken machen, wie sieht ein Ernährungssystem der Zukunft aus, wie sieht Landwirtschaft in Zukunft aus. Und der wichtigste Faktor ist ja, sagen alle Bauern auch immer, sind letztendlich die Konsumenten. Ja klar, die haben eigentlich die Macht. Die Konsumenten haben die Macht und die müssen die Macht auch ausüben. Das ist jeden Tag ein Kampf an der Kasse, ich weiß es, aber diese Macht müssen die Konsumenten ausüben. Wenn sie sich für anständig erzeugte Lebensmittel, wenn sie die konsumieren, am besten natürlich Bio, dann entscheiden sie tatsächlich, wie wird Landwirtschaft in den nächsten Jahren stattfinden. Und ist der Landwirt um die Ecke nicht besser als ein anonymer Produzent in Südamerika? Ich will jetzt nicht über Mercosur reden. Das ist doch letztlich das, was entscheidend ist und was unser ganzes System dann auch prägt. Und ich finde wirklich, dieses Foster ist wirklich hervorragend, weil diese Akteure, wie sie hier zusammenkommen, haben wir sonst kaum. Und ich finde deshalb meine volle Unterstützung und komme gerne wieder.
Danke.
If I may just come back to you a little bit. If you look, you said you're in the Kommunalpolitik still involved, so it's a very local policy. What kind of actors would you like to see there more involved in terms of citizen-driven initiatives? You already named the communes, maybe the local schools, kindergartens. We are also putting together some kind of list. What kind of actors are missing now in a structural way?
Also ich mache Kommunalpolitik in einer kleinen Gemeinde. Wir haben jetzt beschlossen, dass wir einen Jugendbeirat haben, einen Kindergartenbeirat und dass die aktiv sich einbringen können in die Kommunalpolitik. Dass Eltern sich einbringen können und sagen, ja, ich weiß, es gibt viele Beschwerden über das billige Essen, dass die dann auch selber mitentscheiden können, ja, wie sieht es denn aus? Wollt ihr den Produzenten um die Ecke? Seid ihr bereit dafür, einen Euro mehr auszugeben oder ist es euch im Grunde genommen nur billig wichtig? Und man muss, finde ich, für die Demokratie überhaupt wichtig, man muss viel mehr die Leute mit einbeziehen. Wir verlagern immer alles auf Parlamente, ist wunderbar, ist auch ganz wichtig. Aber wenn die Bürger das Gefühl haben, sie sind nicht mit einbezogen und es wird über ihre Köpfe hinweg entschieden, dann haben wir Politikverdrossenheit. Und ich fange nicht wieder mit Lieder an, aber das sind halt Projekte, die sind enorm wichtig für Demokratien, für Mitmachdemokratie. Und das fängt in der Kommune an. Ob ich einen anständigen Elternbeirat habe und eine Jugendvertretung, die sich damit beschäftigt, ist eine Grundlage dafür, dass alle am Ende vielleicht nicht mit einem zufrieden sind, aber das Gefühl haben, sie werden gefragt und in der Entscheidung mit einbezogen.
Rosina, it might be a bit silly to ask you about the importance and the role of citizen-driven initiatives, but you can not only talk for yourself, you also clustered 100, 130, if I put it out of my mind, this kind of initiatives just for the urban, peri-urban Barcelona setting, 130. Yeah. So I think you are in a good position not only to talk for yourself, but for the cluster. The word is yours.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, absolutely agreeing with everything you said. It is very important to create communities. Actually, our very short statement of future vision is that we want to achieve this food environment transformation through the empowerment of communities. And communities are key here. What we can see in a lot of the European projects now, we are all writing policy briefs. We all know the policies that could support all these changes, but they are not happening. And the reason why they are not happening is because sometimes these engagement processes are designed as if the problem was complicated. But the problem is complex. And for that, there are all these approaches that we are fostering in Foster, like, for example, transition design. And with transition design, we can understand that if these children in your municipality are eager to buy a little bit more expensive food because it accomplishes the values that we all share, maybe the municipality is not at the moment to make a law out of it if the municipality is big and you don't have the bulk population involved yet. So what transition design can teach us is that you may need first to start by changing existing establishments in the neighborhood or opening new ones that already are very aligned with the values of the community. And this is what we are doing in our community. It's called Allison. We have more than 130 organizations, but also more than 300 citizens at the moment. And we have now been doing some workshops to design the 10 principles that we would like every single supermarket, shop, restaurant, any establishment to fulfill. And now the next step is, okay, how can we achieve that? Of course, there may be some laws that city council, regional council, or even national can establish, but some of them are not possible now if we look at transition design. And we know that we need to start with social innovation, convincing existing system, existing companies, restaurants, and so on. And that's what we are managing to design together. And so as a summary, I would like to make sure that we differentiate between living labs that are working for complicated problems and living labs that are working for complex problems. We have toolkits with methodologies, but not all the living labs or CDIs or communities of practice are equipped with the methodologies, with transition design, with systems thinking, with transdisciplinary research. And this is key in order to make sure that these engagement processes attain this complexity. Otherwise, we fall into these problems that have been mentioned in the panel, that people don't have time and people stop coming to the workshops. That doesn't happen if people feel that they are part of a movement and that there is a movement and that things are changing. And there is an incredible mental health crisis, not only in Europe, but globally. And we need to belong to something. We need to be in a community where we feel that there is a meaning there, that we are at least putting our small effort that we can bring in order to make a better world. And when you can organize that and have all the stakeholders feeling that they are moving towards that future vision and that it is possible, and understanding why we are far away, why we are not seeing the impact as fast, because there is a transition, and we can understand that we are here now and what we need to do now in order to achieve our goal in the future, then people find the time to come. Of course, you need to design your workshops very well, to adapt to the different time schedules of the different sorts of stakeholders. We have stakeholders who cannot work during the week, so we need to organize activities also in the weekends or after 5 o'clock in the evening, but other ones can only come in the morning. So we need to adapt to the time scales, very practical things, but also with the methodologies in order to address this complexity.
Thank you very much, Rosina, for this clear words. Yeah, applause. You deserve it. We spoke a lot about engaging and integrating people, and I think that's maybe also the time to engage and integrate our audience. So if there is maybe a question you have listening to this really nice speeches, that would be the moment to raise your voice.
Yes.
Or ask.
Sorry.
Maybe also let us know who you are. Yes.
Hello, I'm Isabel Flores from Copenhagen Business School. Very nice to be here, and thank you for the panel, even though I arrived a little bit late due to a delay on the flight, but I made it, and it was really nice to hear all your perspectives. Thank you for mentioning Copenhagen. I've actually recently have written a policy brief. I've been engaging. I participate in both Vision for Food, which is a current project. There was Beacon, which was a national project where we engaged with the municipality. And in our workshops, besides citizens, researchers, farmers, schools, we also brought the ministry. We brought people from it because if this needs to be changed, we need the government to be side by side. And we have so there is that movement as well. And this roadmap one of the projects was created this roadmap. The point is exactly, it was really nice to almost validate, because what you said was regarding this education. You cannot do any change without education. If the consumer, the future consumer, needs to be educated now and have the knowledge how to choose the food. Because food is health, right? We know that. And when we talk about economy, if people eat better, we're going to see this kind of knock off on the health system. It's all what we want, right? And and I think municipalities, they have a huge role, and the policies should not be pushed aside. They need to be pushed forward. And the communities need to push the policies forward and ask for it and be together in it, because otherwise that's not going to move, right? It is a lobbying process. I'm not going to deny many levels. But, and I think, and this is more of a comment, as I said, than question. But I think it's just and I really like the idea of the complex and complicated, yes, because anything that involves a lot of groups will be complex, right? Will have all these layers. But
if I may jump in here, we are over time already.
Okay, so I'm just going to...
One question.
One question, okay, I'll go for the question.
You could direct it to the person of your preference.
So maybe for the ones who are, maybe...
Riches?
Yes.
Or Rosalinda, yeah.
Linda, sorry. That would be exactly what is the best way for these policies to become visible and put into practice in your perspective?
So my perspective is based on a new narrative of the Commission in terms of competitiveness. So whatever we do, when we spend money, we have to demonstrate that the money that is spent gives a leverage in terms of private investment and in terms of results for the EU to be more competitive. I don't want to put it so blindly, but just to be very practical. So if this can help you also in your future reflection, try to be, in this inclusive process, try to take on board private investors, try to focus on the needs of small and medium enterprises, because we have in the food production sector more than 300,000 SMEs. So with this, I think that with this focus, I think that we can build a narrative that is more appealing for those who then have to spend public money.
Mm-hmm. That's a very nice and a very short and a very good answer. Mm-hmm. And it's giving back a little bit the practicalities and the groundproofing for our setting, right? Mm-hmm. So there must be business, there must be a competitive edge, and there must be also some kind of innovation. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
If everyone...
No, I think we don't have, we are very sorry for that, but Uli, we know that you're in contact to each other. We really acknowledge that you found the time here today to come here. Thank you very much. Those who can stay, we are looking forward to have you here and also in the coffee break.
Maybe one photo.
I think I think.
Where's huh?
Me? Pardon me?
One photo right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
A photo. Oh, sorry. Yeah, yes. Sure, a photo. We need a photo.
That's all. That's all I'm asking for.
All.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, our valuable. So nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We're closer. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
And
thank you
very much for coming. We have a small present for you. We asked our CDIs to bring something.
Yeah.
And there are bags. So some things might look familiar to you. And just it's things to energize you. Because food is important. Thank you, of course, for you too. So, thank you, Bram.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, Richard.
So we have here chairs. So
it's all beyond the tax level. You do not be concerned about that.
Thank you. What level? Sorry.
Tax level. So here.
Super. Great. Good job, everyone. Yeah. Good. So, oh yeah. So maybe it was. Oh, Anna, take over. Yeah.
I think there were some misunderstandings. So just to clarify, we're about to go into the break. Unfortunately, the clicker has been missing. Who has the pointer? Okay, thank you. Yes, it was a fantastic exchange. And now it's almost time for the parallel thematic sessions where all of you have the chance to deep dive a little bit more into 3 different topics hosted by 3 different facilitators or facilitating duos, and they will happen after the break. Probably most of you already signed in on the way in. Otherwise, you can use the next 30 minutes to think about which topic you want to choose. Room A with Tom Achterbosch and Peter Holl, embedding focus in the EU R&I governance. So this will take place right here in the plenary. If you want to join the session, please join here in the front. Room B, embedding focus in national and regional policy. It's Kerstin Pasch and Anne Löber. It's upstairs, so basically after the coffee, you can just use the staircase in that coffee room, and it's those rooms above you. And the third room, it's the perspective shifting with Kerstin Kuhls, and this is taking place in this room, also up there. You can use the staircase. Again, we've labeled the rooms so you'll find them. And that's the chance also for more interaction and deep diving into the 3 topics. So I will go around after the coffee break as well. And we will start the sessions at 11:10. Yes, some help with the chairs would be much appreciated. And then don't be shy. We have the best spots here in the front. I will turn on the fan so they become more attractive. Okay, it looks like about a third of the people have managed to come back here, which is already a success. So I think we might just start with our little reflection, which you get the chance to talk to a neighbor or neighbors again and take 5 minutes to reflect on your key takeaways from this conference. Remember, yesterday we started with the 4 dimensions that are in my notebook again. The systems approach and why we used it in Foster, from technocratic expertise to inclusivity and transdisciplinarity, from short-term to long-term thinking, how we really have to have long timelines in our mind, and the multi-level and multi-actor knowledge and governance approach. And we had more insights in the afternoon, where there were Valentina sharing the insights from the summer school, much about food literacy, and how we really have to change how people can interact with the food system. And then Tom also, I see some people dropping in, you can just join. And then we had Tom sharing and Janet, what the governance recommendations would be for what we take out of Foster. And this morning, the high-level MPs and the governance dialogues here, and now your small groups with the individual themes. So before we get the summaries of the small groups, we now take 5 minutes to talk to our neighbor. What's your key takeaway? And one seed or something you're next to do that you take from this conference. Where do you want to start acting in the direction of focus? So turn around or back front, doesn't matter. You can talk to someone about your key takeaway and something you want to implement, something that is growing. Then start slowly wrapping up your conversations. And I'd like you to come back to the plenary. Okay. Now it's time to stop the conversation so we can come back into this room. Thank you. So let's give the people who are trudling in, as you know, time to find a seat or stand, also fine, but finding a space where you want to be. And in my little group, we talked actually about something that funny enough, is a practice that both Kirsten Kuhls and I often do. It's somehow physically arriving in the room. So we want to take this chance. I see John's puzzled face. We're going to have an experience together. We're just going to take 3 big breaths to ground us here before we go into the phase of the reporting and into looking back on the whole conference. So let's take a breath. Okay. And with this, I think you discussed with your neighbors about many of the takeaways that you had. We're also going to get the reporting back from each session. So I would ask the reporters up here on stage. So all 3 of you can toodle in up here. Just on stage. That's how it has to be. We're still getting the presentation ready, I see. Maybe the 3 of you can share one takeaway from the small... Oh, you didn't have small discussions right now with your neighbors, did you? Someone else who had a small discussion with the neighbors might want to share their key takeaway. We're almost there with the presentations. Julia, do you want to share your takeaway? From what? That you were just sharing in our little group.
So Anna asked me what my takeaways were, and I was like, you mean from now or from... But I have 2 big things that I found really inspiring over the last day and a half. One was what Rosina said yesterday about making the food system something like the education system, like the health system, that it's something that is so fundamental, we cannot leave it to market forces. It needs to be part of our actual public goods. And I found that really yesterday, I got an electric charge from it. And the second thing came from what UEFA brought up in the breakout group I was in just now. And UEFA said that we need to stop thinking about the food system as a problem, and we should think about the food system as the key to unlock and unravel all of these other problems that we have in the meta crisis, the poly crisis, with environment, with mental health, with isolation. How do we actually, it's through food. Food is not the problem, food is the solution. So I thought with these 2 insights, I found them both very inspiring. Thank you, Rosina. Thank you, UEFA. Thank you, everyone who's here.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. I also had my exciting moment when you shared. Now we're going to get to the reporting of the rooms. Can we go to the first rooms slide? I have the power, I forgot. That's the right slide? Perfect. Then I hand over to you, Nuray.
Yeah, hi. For those who don't know me, I'm Nuray Duman. I'm here with the University of Hohenheim. I've been working in the Foster project as an academic partner with the ERS, the Food Policy Council in Stuttgart, and I'm also in the board of the Food Policy Council Stuttgart. So I was spontaneously asked to summarize our session. We talked about how to embed focus in EU research and innovation governance. It was a very lively discussion. We talked about many, many different aspects. I see 2 main themes that we talked about, and one big theme was communication. So how do we actually disseminate and communicate the results of a project like Foster? How do we make the best out of these results? And here it was raised the point that the messages that we are delivering, it's very important to consider to which target group are we addressing these messages, and then to adapt our language and our results in a way, or formulate them in a way that they are understandable, to the point, not too complicated, so that they can be taken up and be considered. And it's not always easy also to know who to address the messages to. So that has also been a discussion about this, and how to get hold of these persons, like how to access these people. So one suggestion, for example, was to make use of the so-called national contact points. I've never heard about that before, but that could be one thing to do, to make better use of them. Then every one of us, actually, all of us, we can use our position within our work, within our networks also, to spread the results of a project like Foster. So make use of your own position to spread these results and to have them applied in the future and hopefully help to institutionalize them. So what has also been said was that we should also not forget about ACES, actually. So ACES already came up with very useful tools in the past. So what we could do is to make use of the tools that have been developed in ACES and broadening them and adapting them to focus. So we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. Did I forget something on the slide? Yeah, I think it's... Then another topic was the way that research calls are formulated and developed. I think we already talked also yesterday about that the problem is that the target groups themselves, or quite a lot of stakeholders that are actually then the target groups are often not involved in the development of the research proposals. So what we need there is, for example, cascade funding, or we need a two-stage funding proposal application stage. So first we should have more time or invest more time for the relevant stakeholders to come together to develop research questions together, and then only in the next stage to come up with a proposal and work on that, on the project. I don't know if I summarized that in a good way, but I hope it's understandable. And in general, again, about communication also, what is important is to align with the other people or with the other person you're talking to align with them better and use this alignment as a good starting point for communication. And it also has been raised yesterday already, to create scenarios. That was one specific suggestion also for the Foster results, that we could come up with a two-pager that creates a scenario of what if we don't. So what would happen if we don't use the strategies and instruments implemented and the suggestions implemented or suggested by Foster to move to focus? What if this is not taken up? What would happen then? So that message could be have a stronger effect than saying, okay, what if we apply them, but rather put the focus on what if we don't apply them.
Thank you so much, Nora, for the summary. And I would hand over to Britt for room number 2B.
Yeah, so I clearly didn't realize that we had 2 slides to put things on. So, but we also in room B had very interesting discussions. We actually had quite a lot of different regions there and different types of partners. And our topic was, okay, how do we embed focus in national and regional policy? And we first started the discussion talking about the general challenges. So what are challenges that we're all facing as a group and that we can all agree on, but also disagree on? And the first one, I think we've heard this many times throughout the conference, is that there's fragmented governance across ministries, political parties, and policy domains, which limits this sort of systemic approach. The second one, which we've also heard many times, is that food systems are low on the political agenda. So there's lots of things going on. I mean, there's wars and other crazy things, and food is then here for some reason. And that means that there's limited ownership, so who's going to be responsible for the food system? And I think that also relates to this sort of fragmented governance, is that everybody is working on their own things, but who is responsible for the food system? Then we had institutional gaps exist at the regional and national level. So again, there's no clear home. Where do we go? Besides here at the Foster Conference. And then relating to you, communication between actors is siloed, but also in a way that many of us work in different we do different jobs, we have a different language, we speak to each other about the same things, we think. But as you said, are we really understanding each other? And also, many people work on different parts of the food system without alignment. And then we had that one of the things is that bottom-up knowledge, so a lot of things are top-down in governments. It's not sufficiently integrated into policy making. And then the final is making citizens care, right? So we talked a lot again today about this concept of sustainability, of eating healthy. But how do we make people care? And that includes ourselves, that includes our friends, et cetera, et cetera. And then after this, we went to, okay, so knowing all of these structural barriers, what are the opportunities? And what do we do? So one of the first things we discussed is that Foster is now a sort of 4-year project coming to an end, but many things have been done, and many sort of shared lessons have emerged. So the first thing would be to develop roadmaps that can be disseminated to other organizations that want to build on our work. With concrete actions, responsibilities, timelines, but also target actors. So who is responsible for sort of bringing these roadmaps forward? The second one is identify the right champions and contact points. Again, what you said, so knowing the right people. And then we discussed the new EU partnership plans, which may be a sort of leverage point. For influence via regional contact points. And then I think one of our most agreed upon points was that we need a sort of interministerial working group, because again, we are working in so many, or the food system is sort of, the responsibility of the food system is siloed into so many departments, but there is no real oversight committee that is sort of organizing this, which also then relates to ownership. Where am I now? And we also had use regional and city level leverage. So that's again, harping on your points. And strengthening institutional work by mobilizing change agents. So us here in this room, we are all arguably change agents. We do the work here, but institutional work also requires sort of not only collective action, but entrepreneurship in the field that you are in. And then also raising political awareness. So again, we talked about how food is connected to things such as health, such as mental health, etc. So how do we sort of raise awareness around this? And then continue raising awareness, it's a bit of the same point. But again, Foster has created so many policy briefs. We have the 2-pagers, we have webinars. Disseminate, because things only sort of die when we let them. And then finally, to sum up, use every formal means in practice. And also to recognize who we are sitting in this room and the sort of things that we are able to influence, right? So policy formulations, for example. We are also agents of change. And that's how I'd like to end.
Thank you, Britt. And then we can, yeah, I was like, different slide, but is that the right slide?
Yes, I think so. So I'm Kees Nieuwhuizen. I'm with VU Amsterdam, working on the Vision for Food project. And a lot of things I wanted to say are already said by Britt on my side, but I think that's only a good thing that we are all together on the same side. And what we did together in our room was looking about shifting perspectives and then looking into the future. Because as Britt also said, Foster stops now. We've been working for 4 years on this, but we have to go on and the food transformation doesn't stop. So my slides are not that good as the ones before, but I will lead you through it. So what is important if we look from now till, let's say, 2040? What needs to happen? And we started with inclusiveness, because that's where it all starts. We have heard it many times. Everyone wants to feel included from the start, from the first moment. Also, the farmers or the people from the top, farmers need to feel rewarded from the start. And that goes with feeling trusted. So we go from the first to the third. And when you feel trusted, then you will stay involved, will be involved, and will work on it. And what builds trust? That is sharing space together, come together. Like we are doing now. Now we get to know each other, so we can talk and we know we can move on with it. Also, information transparency. If you know, if we talk together, but we have to talk with the farmers as well, with the people, let's say, underneath in the system, because they want to know what's happening and why they do it, what their rewards are, what their incentives are, and then they will stay with us and will work on the project. I think, and that's also what comes with the design of the project. Also, not top-down only, but we also have to go bottom-up, and to be sure from the start, we have to know what is the outcome. Then I think we can move to the second one. Yes, this also comes a bit with the same things as the incentives we talked about, and the recent fundings we all know we need. We've talked about it a lot, so I won't go deeper in it because of the time as well. But what we thought as well was maybe for the future, in 2040, now we're talking about fundings we need to move on. But maybe we have to look at the business models for the CDIs we have to make sure they earn their own self. Get a sort of competition in there so we make sure it will be long-term sustainable. Because we can't always ask and keep asking for the fundings, we need more than that, and to make it self-sufficient, that's the word. And that comes also with investing in value, making value into public goods. And I think we can go to the last one. Then the most important one, and we talked about this, in my opinion, and we talked about this morning as well, was the shift of demand and change the standard. Especially this morning we had talking about the hospitals where the most cheap food you receive there, or in schools where it's not the standard to have healthy food. And there also the education starts. Okay, what is healthy food? Why do we need it? So also from the kids, they know, I want it, I need it. And also what you said, so we need to change the standard, we need a transition or a roadmap, but you told already all about it, Britt, so I can switch as well. And then I think the most important takeaway we want to give you, and hopefully we take till 2040, is to transform the food system, not only for the food system, but to improve other systems as well. Because it's not only about the physical health or the health of the earth, the environment as well, the mental health, the physical health, societal health. So transforming the food system comes with everyone, with everything, every other system. So maybe we need to lobby for that.
Thank you very much. Let's give a clap to all those. It's fantastic. All of you managed within 5 minutes, and we're back in time. So with this, I think it was fantastic summaries also of what came up during the whole conference, because what was discussed yesterday and presented yesterday was of course also feeding into those discussions, combining also your personal experiences as well as your experiences from the Foster project. And I think this has just proven again how well the things come together and how interlinked everything is. We are moving towards the closing of this whole conference. So for this, I would hand over to Kerstin Pasch, our project coordinator, for the final words.
Thank you, Anna. And I feel also a bit exhausted, so I am not wrapping up anything again. But it was just a pleasure being here at a second time at a final conference of a project for me. So with another project, we found this nice place. So I'm really happy about the discussion we had yesterday and today. And I already told tomorrow this morning to those I had breakfast with, it felt a bit like, Julia, you had this with this party. People are invited to party and, well, it's different than organizing parties. Feeling responsible for such a conference is like you're organizing a party. And it's like you feel all the time when the party is ongoing a bit stressed and you're not really enjoying every time. That was the case yesterday, for sure. But today it was really more relaxed, and also due to the really nice audience, all the discussions come up and you see, okay, it's running. There are things, we have something to say, and yeah, and we have to continue with that. So today was more party for me maybe than yesterday. And I think that is a moment now to say thank you, and I see many Foster faces now here, which is maybe, yeah, what we expect. I think what I would like to say, most obviously now, first a big clap and thanks to Anna. Well, you did a very great job. That is really something, my personal experience. You need people to energize and make conference really like an experience and not just sit there and listen. And we move chairs. That's also something that you don't see that often in final conferences. So thank you very much for all your experience and engagement and pushing us also to make a difference. Thank you. Also, a big thank you for Alessandra in the back. So. We gave, maybe not all know, we gave over the specific role to manage the program of our final conference after Stuttgart. So we invited you on short time to handle us. This team with a lot of different ideas, different perspective, different ideas where to go and what is your ambition in the project. And you really did a great job. I'm so happy that we asked you to take over that role and you make it also happen. So thank you very much. Yeah. And also, not to forget, because there's so much work behind such a conference, some of you might know, others not. So I think there's also a really big hand to our partners who do all the technical coordination, the overall management of this project, the dissemination and communication part, everything. So I would like to, that stands up. Ifer, I see you heading here a bit. Eva Thaisa, yeah, come on. And also Biljana. Yeah, Hugo also. But where is Biljana? Monsieur Biljana? Ah, she's coordinating some. Okay, that's quite important. Yeah, okay, we let her know that there was also a big clap for her. So yeah, very good. So that was more or less final. But okay, we can do it again. Thank you, Biljana, for all your work. Thank you very much. Also, I would also say, no, just also to Teresa and Karen, because I sometimes feel, oh, okay, there's someone close by, Brewer, can you take care of this? Thank you to all, also to my colleague, also Peter, yeah. Well, we have food right now, so there's something prepared for us. And maybe a wish that after we had the food, we still have a room upstairs. And maybe just, not long, I don't have prepared anything, but those from the Foster Consortium, maybe let's just meet there for, and if it's only half an hour, just a bit personal, some feedbacks, some things to say. I also have a wish to make maybe a specific photo, kind of greetings from the team to those who are not here, like Thomas and Emma. I think that would be very nice, because due to illness, they cannot come. So let's meet upstairs there. I don't know, one of the biggest room. Let's see. And there's another important thing. So, thank you to Kerstin. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I feel released now, really. Also, there's still all this reporting, and Astrid is still there. Yeah, you know, you're knocking. I still have questions to you. Yeah. But we will manage that last part as well. One note because we now have a break in the afternoon, what is quite nice, and I hope all of you have planned to go back tomorrow, so that we have a nice evening together. And this is, well prepared, as you see. If I'm responsible, I'm doing like that. I put this somewhere, maybe I'll take a photo, but that is a place where we meet tonight. So I read it, but I put that somewhere else. It's a rooftop bar. It's called Rooftop 58. Do you know it, Astrid? Okay, you're invited, of course, as well. Yeah. It's a quite new one, I guess, not that old. It's close to the Grand Place, the Bourse. It should be very nice, what I heard. Actually, it was my plan to go there when we met last year. When was it? October, September, what it was closed that day. So next chance is now. We meet there at 7 o'clock. It's not like a seated dinner. It's more like, a bit like we had yesterday. So drinks, eat, chats. So maybe just a few, could you or someone help me counting who's planning to come here? Maybe if there's some now last adaptation, how many people are planning to come to, okay, can someone count, help me counting? 30. Sounds good. Okay, fine. Okay, done. So I put this here somewhere that you know where to go. And then let's enjoy food. Thank you.